please turn your cameras back on. We're about to start the student presentation portion of the conference, in which students from colleges and universities across Texas are going to present about work equity issues or social justice issues that are important to them. Keep in mind, these individuals are not experts, although I think they're experts for their age, for sure. So this is just an opportunity for them to share something they're passionate about and to take questions from you and get experience talking at a conference. Presenters know that you're going to get 5 minutes each and then 5 minutes for questions. I'll try to cut you off if you're running over, just to keep everyone on track. And Anya, we're going to have you going first. Any questions before we begin? No, okay. And just so you know, you all have screen sharing privileges, so go ahead and share whatever resources you'd like. And if you could please, when you're not presenting, drop your information in the chat. I'm sure there's students who might want to get in touch with you and learn more about what you're doing on your campuses. So Anya, I'm going to introduce you. Anya is currently a sophomore at the University of Texas at Austin studying environmental justice. She's interested in the intersection of social justice issues and the environmental movement, with a focus locally on campus as the co-director of the Environmental Justice Collective. Today, she'll be presenting about the importance of grassroots ways for students to engage in environmental justice issues. She's passionate about science communication, telling people of color stories, and planning for sustainable and resilient change. Please join me in welcoming Anya.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to y'all today and to TRACS, and I'm very excited to be here. So thank you for the introduction, Samara. And today I'll be presenting about a student effort at the University of Texas at Austin called the Environmental Justice Collective. Okay, so this definition of environmental justice is something that a lot of you may have seen pretty often. It's the EPA definition, and it gets referenced a lot. But in simpler terms, environmental justice is ensuring we protect people as well as the planet, and acknowledging and addressing the disparity in how burdens as well as benefits are allocated throughout the planet. Okay, so a brief history of the Environmental Justice Collective. It was formed in the fall of 2018 by BIPOC students in environmental programs that felt a gap in education and recognized the need to center class, gender, and race issues and others within environmentalism. So we joined the Campus Environmental Center, which you'll see as the CEC in this presentation, as its newest team in the fall of 2019. And as of 2022, we've received permanent funding, which is very exciting. Some of the events that we've hosted are discussions, volunteer events. We've had a menstrual cup distribution, which I'll talk about a little later, panels by community activists, and a bunch of educational events. Okay, so we try to focus our work through three main pillars: truth, advocacy, and community. So within truth, we want to address the shortcomings of sustainability and other curriculum on campus, and really loop in environmental justice topics into pre-existing curriculum, as well as be a part of creating new courses. So there have been 2 new environmental justice courses that have resulted as, or have been a direct result of the work of my predecessors, which is very cool. As for advocacy, we really want to empower students with the knowledge, language, and tools so that they can be advocates for environmental justice, but also for themselves, and really focus on that shift towards a more inclusive campus. And lastly, but not least, community. We really want to create a place where students feel welcome to discuss issues that they're facing, social justice issues, environmental issues, in a space that is brave and that is accepting of all backgrounds. All right, so as for our spheres of influence, we mainly operate out of a leadership team. This is our team for this year. I am very proud of all of them, and they do such great work. We further subdivide into a group that works on curriculum, a group that works on social media, a group that works on educational events, but all together, we're really interested in investing in the future leaders and making sure environmental justice is a common theme throughout. EJC is led by students of color and is inclusive to non-traditional sustainability related majors. And the goal of that is to allow for the integration of different disciplines within environmentalism. Okay, so to encourage a social justice lens within the CEC is another one of our big goals. The Campus Environmental Center's mission is to build an inclusive, intersectional community empowered to protect people and the environment through leadership, education, and action. And one of the things that we do as the EJC is we do advising to different project teams and different orgs and kind of talk about how to integrate environmental justice into events and discussions. So our current vision emphasizes the social justice lens through efforts to include intersectionality and empowerment of the communities that we serve. Okay, as for beyond the 40 acres, our volunteer events are often off campus, whether that be volunteering with local community gardens, and our period cup distribution, which I had mentioned earlier, was an effort to get menstrual cups available to any menstruators on campus that needed it, and recognizing that the issue of waste is so intersectional with access to safe and cheap period products. So we also have a recommended course list that helps students register for classes that integrate social justice and environmental themes to encourage attendance to those classes and encourage professors to continue to teach those classes. And we also work on legislation for social justice curriculum. So our plans for the future, very briefly, is to continue advocating, continue learning, and continue building community. And I see that I'm over time, so I'm just going to open it up to questions, but thank you so much.
I have a quick question, or it's not super quick actually, but I do have a question. How did you first find interest in this topic and start to get involved on your campus in the Environmental Justice Collective?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think as for environmentalism, it's a very broad topic and people enter it through different ways, whether that be food justice or food deserts and accessibility or conservation. There are many different ways to enter environmentalism in general, but environmental justice is a more niche topic. And I think everyone's journey is so personal with that. For me personally, I attended a volunteer event that they put on, and they were really cute chickens, and I wanted to continue to get to know the people in the organization, and I felt like it was a very welcoming community. And so yeah, I think that's one of my main goals as co-lead, is to just maintain that community and make it feel like a family, and yeah, just accept people in all stages of their journey.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, so did you have any common obstacles when going through your advocacy?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think especially because the Environmental Justice Collective is a part of the university and that it is funded by the university, there's a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of red tape that you can run into in terms of what can you use funding for, what are we allowed to advocate for and say no to. But I think overall, any barriers that we've faced, we've found ways to continue to empower the voices that need to be empowered and push back. And thankfully, UT has been pretty receptive to giving us the space that we need to operate, and has been receptive to wanting to learn and be better as a whole. But yeah, no, pushback is something you're always going to face. I don't know if I'm qualified to speak on what to do when you do face that, but just surround yourself with people who are going to bring different ideas to the table, and hopefully something works out.
Anya, how are efforts going to create a social justice flag on or requirement on UT? Is that something you guys are specifically advocated for, or more just trying to get more social justice based curriculum on?
Yeah, so so far our efforts have been the latter. So to show professors that it is easier to integrate social justice into pre-existing coursework, rather than getting a new flag. But there's legislation and discussion in the works as for expanding that curriculum. The thing is, when you get to flags and the creation of new coursework, that happens on a much higher level. And so in really looking at that more bottom-up approach, it's much easier to integrate these topics into pre-existing curriculum rather than making new requirements. But both are equally as important, so I hope both are furthered. Yeah, thank you all so much for the questions and for your attention. I don't take that for granted. And thank you for putting on this conference. It's been a pleasure to speak to you today.
Thank you, Anya. Okay, I'm going to introduce our next presenter, Alexis King. Alexis King is a senior communications major and business minor at Texas A&M University. She serves the Aggie community as the co-founder and co-president of the Student Council of Arts and Scientists, and as a member of the Student Government Association Legislative Relations Commission. Alexis is passionate about child advocacy, having volunteered 6 years with the Collin County Teen Court Program, and currently as a family care volunteer with Scotty's House in Bryan, Texas. After graduation, Alexis plans to attend law school to pursue a legal career in child advocacy. Please give a warm welcome to Alexis King.
Hi, everyone. Let me just share my screen real quick. Okay, we'll get started. So hi, yes, my name is Alexis King, and I am presenting today about the expansion of the McKinney-Vento Act to Texas higher education institutions. So yes, that was a little bit about me, but just once again, here are some of the areas I'm involved in on campus, but specifically today, I'm going to be discussing the efforts of the Student Government Association's Legislative Relations Commission about expanding the McKinney-Vento Act to Texas higher education institutions. So first, how does students experiencing homelessness or students who are exiting the foster care into higher education specifically impact Texas? Well, Texas is ranked the 3rd in the nation for the largest number of homelessness students with 114,055 students, and that is the K through 12 as of 2022. And then specifically on the foster care side, 28,261 Texas youth were in foster care in 2021. And so both of these groups of students would be eligible under the McKinney-Vento Act to receive services and get connected with resources for students in terms of housing, transportation, paying for school supplies if this act were to be expanded. So specifically today, the conference is on workplace inequality, social justice issues. So how does student homelessness impact the Texas economy at a larger scale? Well, first, less than 10% of children experiencing homelessness or in the foster care system actually graduate from college. And the economic impact of that is that individuals who earn a bachelor's degree on average make 50% less likely to be unemployed and make on average 1.2 million more during their lifetime. And so specifically, the Student Government Association's Legislative Relations Commission is focused this semester on passing a bill at the Texas State Legislature level that is increasing the funding to be able to expand the McKinney-Vento Act to Texas higher education institutions. And so the McKinney-Vento Act is a federal law that mandates that children and youth experiencing homelessness have a right to free, appropriate public education. Currently, this only applies through K through 12 students. This year, there was a $27 million surplus in the Texas legislature budget. And so we're advocating that this portion of those funds go towards expanding this program in order to support students who are either exiting either of these two housing classifications or who within their time at Texas higher education institution begin to experience homelessness. And so where has this been seen outside the state of Texas? Well, in 2021, the Illinois legislature passed a Senate Bill 190, which established the requirement that every school in the state employ a liaison dedicated to directing homeless students toward resources available to them. The bill also sets guidelines for recording statistics on student homelessness. And this is really important, this portion of recording statistics, because currently there is no system in place in order to keep track of how many students are actually experiencing homelessness in the state of Texas at our higher education institutions, as well as what is the effectiveness of the programs that have been implemented. And if we're able to gather specific statistics on the successfulness of these programs, then we can either move resources to more successful programs or redesign some of the programs that are not meeting those metrics that we would like to see in order to better support these groups of individuals. And so specifically, what is our bill proposing? Well, we request that funding from the Texas legislature to hire liaison positions on Texas colleges' campuses. Liaisons would connect students exiting the foster care or homelessness or currently experiencing homelessness to needed resources. Liaisons would train college staff and faculty to identify potential students impacted by homelessness. And then the data of this program would be collected and reported to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. But this would be done anonymously to once again be able to track the successfulness of these programs in order to better allocate resources. And then finally, where has we seen success in similar programs like this? Well, as I mentioned, the success rate of individuals exiting these two classifications of home housing only formally have a 10% success rate at graduation. However, Foster Care to Success, America's College Fund, specifically their program called Student Emergency Fund and Book Club, is all about connecting students who are either in the foster care system or who are experiencing homelessness in the state of crisis to resources to help in emergency situations, pay for rent, pay for food. If their car breaks down, get them, a stable mode of transportation until they can figure out their situation. And this specific program has driven up graduation rates to 65%, which is really awesome. And so that is really what this program is all about, is connecting those students to resources. Thank you.
I was about to cut you off, Alexis, but perfect. Your presentation. Does anyone have any questions for Alexis?
I can go first again if no one else wants to jump in, but so my question is that how have you found a connection between like your major and then what you're advocating for, like how you're active on campus?
Yeah, so I think that it's really more within just what I'm passionate about. So I've been serving within the child advocacy realm for the past 10 years. In high school, I got involved with Collin County Teen Court, and through those interactions with those teens, I saw that it was a lot of times students who were put into circumstances outside of their control, which led to some of the reasons why they were there in the program, as well as I've been volunteering with Scotty's House, which is a local child advocacy center. And, the children that I've been interacting with are, all the way up till 18. And so when I entered as a freshman volunteering with this organization, some of the children that I got to know are now graduated and kind of contemplating, okay, how do I navigate moving on to this next step of going to college or going to university? And I could just see that there is a need for programs like this in order to better support them in their transition.
Alexis, I don't know if you saw in the chat, and also I think you kind of answered it, but can you remind Kelly when children age out of foster care?
Yes, children age out of foster care at the age of 18. And so this also includes children who are seniors in high school. So let's say that you turned 18 in October, but you're not graduating till that next May. Unfortunately, you would have aged out of the foster care system at age 18. And so you wouldn't necessarily be guaranteed housing.
Alexis, can you speak a little bit more about what your responsibilities as a family care volunteer at Scotty's House are, and maybe like a more qualitative assessment of what it's like to work with children?
Yeah, so there's kind of two sides to Scotty's house. There's more the forensic side. So that is when an initial report has been made, the child comes in, and really the mission of Scotty's house is that a child only has to tell their story once. And so they come in, and I think as just a family care volunteer, I sit behind the desk. I am tasked with just playing with the child, making them feel comfortable, giving them snacks. Every child leaves Scotty's house with a toy. And so really just making them feel as comfortable as possible during their experience. So on that forensic side, they are interviewed by a professional who specializes in child trauma episodes. And so therefore, they're not just speaking with, the run-of-the-mill police officer who might not understand that, talking to a 5-year-old about something really traumatic that happened is not the same as talking to a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old. There's different standards. And so they record it, and then it can be played at any further trials or court proceedings. And then in terms on the therapy side, individuals who are patients of Scotty's house are provided free therapy up until the age of 18. And so I work more on the therapy side. And so some of the regulars who come in each week, I'm tasked as their family care volunteer. And so they know that when they come in, they will be able to see me, play with me. And I just kind of become a little bit of a mentor in terms of, over the years, helping them with homework or just playing, like the kitchen and stuff. There's different toys. And so it's just been really awesome and eye-opening into an experience that, I just think that there could be a lot more done to support these families that are going through these circumstances.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing about that. Any other final questions for Alexis?
Thank y'all.
Not? Okay. Thank you, Alexis.
Thank you
I'll
so
introduce
much.
the next speakers. So next is our we have two presenters, Yaniris de los Santos, Laura, and Cody Sanchez. Please correct my pronunciation when you introduce yourselves. From Enactus. Enactus at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley is a student-led organization that uses the UN Sustainability Development Goals as a compass to tackle issues within the region. Their mission as servant leaders is to establish sustainable economic growth in their communities by developing strong partnerships. They have developed several projects that range from feeding 1,600 families in need during Thanksgiving, to teaching financial literacy concepts to students in their community, and lastly, preparing autistic talent to enter the workforce. Enactus's goal as an organization is to improve social economic conditions through entrepreneurial action and education in our region. Please give a warm welcome to Enactus.
I'm going to share the screen as well.
Yes. How do I do that?
You gave us permissions to share the screen, correct?
Yes, you should be good to go.
Okay. Yeah, because it doesn't show the button here to share it.
Oh. That might be something on your end.
I believe we did email you the PowerPoint as well, though.
If you
Okay.
have your Zoom window like squished or like put to the side, it might be under the more option. You should see one that says share screen.
Click on more. It just says stop incoming video.
Haley, can you go ahead and access their presentation on the drive while they try to figure it out? Were you able to see it?
No.
Okay.
I'm in the process of pulling it up. If y'all want to start like introducing yourselves, I'll have
Yeah,
it
go
up in
ahead
just
and
a moment.
introduce yourselves.
You can go first, Yanni.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. My name is Yaniris de los Santos. I am a project manager for our project named SOAR, and this is my my peer.
My name is Cody Sanchez. I'm the vice president of Enactus, and I am the project leader for our SOAR project. So I am a sophomore technically. I did change my major from mechanical engineering to entrepreneurship and innovation, and I'm a sophomore. So just a small rundown of our SOAR project. I believe it's already going to be shown right here. Our SOAR project, basically, we like to cover the different UN Sustainable Development Goals. We start off with the 4th one, which is quality education, our 8th, which is decent work and economic growth, as well as our 10th, which is reduced inequalities. Now, our SOAR project is overall based on working with autistic talent. It's an underrepresented community, especially when we start talking about diversity and inclusion. It always seems that they are left out of the overall discussion. So when we did the research prior, we found out that 1 in 54 people were born with autism, but according to 2018 with the CDC, it's actually increased. So now 1 in 44 people have autism. So 66% of autistic individuals also have a level of higher education, yet 88% of them are unemployed. So that is a very huge number, especially for some that we did have last year that were programming on calculators like TA84s. There was some that had bachelors in computer science that was interviewing at the job that I currently work at. So to know that there's so much talent there, yet they're underrepresented and kind of looked over, is the type of problem that we're trying to face then. The next slide. So these are the different types of skills that we do go over, right? Soft skills, some of the things that we take for granted because we're so accustomed to socializing. So we teach each member how to behave at the workplace, teaching them essential skills like communication, stress, anger, customer service, how to manage those types of emotions. Guidance, we're not only there to teach them, we're there to be friends and mentors along the way. Now, with the inclusion aspect, we try to correlate everything that we teach into how they can implement it into their lives. And teamwork, we do partner with Team Mario, which is the organization that has all the autistic individuals. Texas Workforce Solutions, which helps us and them find internships for the mentees or those that we train. And UTRGV Sustainability Department, where they go out and they actually help us with the trainings as well. But most importantly, we do have our members becoming mentors to them. The next slide. Our mission is overall to guide and prepare young adults with autism for professional opportunities while creating meaningful relationships. That is our main goal. I'm getting locked in my computer. You want to go with this one, Yanni?
Yes. So our goals with the project of SOAR are to build relationships with our SOAR participants. We do think it's very important to build long-term relationships with our mentees, because we think that it's a very great way to also keep long connections with them. Another goal is to guide and mentor all SOAR participants, but especially the partners that our mentors are paired with. And our last goal is we want all of our SOAR participants to obtain a job or internship that aligns with their interests for the summer, because the last thing we would want is for them to be in something that they are unhappy with.
So how it really started was one of our members in 2020, her name was Brenda. She had her autistic brother named Luis. And this is basically just an overall video. It's about 50 seconds long, if you can play it really quick.
I don't know if we're able to hear, but let's just keep going with it.
That's all right. So overall, I mean, Brenda brought this to our attention and felt that our group and Actis could make an overall impact with it. So we met with Luis, amazing guy, as well as the other people in the group, and we felt it was probably the best thing morally as well as overall to help out. Now, for some of us, we do have autistic individuals. I currently have 2. So not only does it make the project much more rewarding emotionally, but it does feel very much like home, give or take.
Hi, okay, so we run out of time. Can we take a few questions for Enactus real quick?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So when you mentor these individuals, do you take into account like again, I know a lot of autistic individuals might have like OCD or like ADHD. Does this change like the what mentors you assign, or do you have to have like training for this kind of thing, things like that?
Yeah, at the very beginning, before we started, we worked with, I believe, Lisa, who's in charge of the whole thing. So with Lisa, we had a training regarding how to go about working with these individuals. So the only difference really is just patience. They are very social. They do love discussing different ideas and going about tangents, which all of us do. That's just how it is. And there are some that are very introverted. So what we plan on doing is we're gonna see which types of personalities fit best with one another. So if we have a mentor that's very much introverted, then we will pair them with a mentee that is introverted as well. So that way they can feel much more accustomed to being around those types of people, as well as possibly growing a better connection, knowing that, okay, someone's just as shy as me or someone doesn't talk as much as me, which usually tends to be the better types of relationships, actually.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Would you ever think of expanding this program outside of the region, like outside of your college, to benefit other individuals in the area?
Yeah, I mean, that would be a great option to go by. The biggest thing at the moment is Team Mario is its own small organization. Now, for them to find applicants, they really do have to narrow it down to specific people because they don't have the huge space, I guess you could say, to host the events. Now, as well as we're trying to make it sustainable to where we can kind of step away and have it running as well in the background, to where if we don't have our input, it can still keep producing and helping out all these individuals. To possibly grow out into the whole US would be amazing. The more we help, the better. I think that's the overall, with all the projects that we've had, everything pertains to helping out overall. So it would be a good look into the future, I guess you could say.
Awesome. Thank you, Enactus. I'm going to let Paige go next. And Paige, I know you're running on a schedule, so go ahead and introduce yourself and get straight into your presentation.
Sounds great. Thanks, Samara. Hi, guys. My name is Paige. I don't have my camera on because I'm actually currently at a different conference in Portugal, and my Wi-Fi in the hotel is not fantastic. So I am trying to do my bandwidth best I can. I'm an environmental geoscience student. I do a lot of work in ecology. So today my presentation is not actually on anything that I am doing for research or for work, but it's more of an advocacy topic that I'm really passionate about. So I'm just here to teach you guys about workplace democracy. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right, perfect. And let me know if I'm cutting out at all because the Wi-Fi is not fantastic. But so yeah, I'm here to talk to you about worker co-ops. And hopefully you guys all remember our very special election last week. It was pretty important. It decided the future of our human rights. So hopefully you guys all got a chance to vote. And when it comes to government, most of us would like to see our votes count, but there is this major and debilitating democracy blind spot in American culture, which is within our workplace. The majority of us are going to graduate college soon. We're going to enter the workforce where we are destined to spend more time at our jobs than with our families. And most of us are going to get into that job and we're not going to choose what hours of the day we work. We're not going to have a say in how much we get paid. We don't vote on our supervisors. We don't have any say in the changes that the company makes. We're going to sit down and we're probably going to do our job because our manager said so. And they're going to do their job because their manager said so, and then so on until we're at the top where the people that are deciding these aspects of our life for us barely know our name. And I personally fear living my life this way. But there's a business model that I've learned about that doesn't operate quite like that. The businesses are called worker cooperatives, and they are worker-owned businesses that are built with a foundation of democracy. So like I said, I do think that democracy is this core human value that most of us share. And in our workplace, we don't have access to it. Right now, we just kind of do what our companies want us to do. And we can suggest new ideas or changes. But if you're in a large enough company and you don't have an executive position, your decision-making power is pretty slim. With workplace democracies, you and your coworkers have more of a guaranteed voice in these decisions. Not only that, oh, sorry. So just for some more concrete examples, American work culture is just objectively worse than a lot of other developed countries. According to like 15 years of Gallup poll data, the number of hours full-time workers have worked fluctuates typically between 45 and 47 hours per week. And even more extreme than that, about 39% of people work over 50 hours per week. Not only that, but the United States is the only high-income country that has no parental leave. They have no paid sick leave. And it's one of the only countries in the world that has no paid vacation or holiday leave required at all. And another major problem in America is our wealth inequality. The first way to look at this is through economic mobility, which is the ability for somebody who is born poor to enter the middle class. And ironically, this concept is the American dream. In 2020, the Global Social Mobility Report shows that the United States ranks 27th in economic mobility. And this is because American generations since the 80s make less money than their parents. This is despite workers being far more productive than they have been in years past. And another way to discuss inequality is the gap between the ultra rich and the rest of us. So the top 0.1% makes a median of over $7 million per year, while the bottom 90% makes a median of $36,000 per year. This massive inequality has been growing since the 80s, where the majority of the GDP growth started growing drastically towards the 1%. So since the 80s, their wages have increased by 229%, while the bottom 90%'s wages have only increased by 46%. So remember that our worker productivity has been increasing a lot faster than our wages. We're not lazy, it's just that we're not paid what we're worth. So in my opinion, worker co-ops would solve a lot of these issues. The basic of a co-op is that workers become the owners of the company that they work for. So they're given stock, they're given a vote on how the company is run. And sometimes a co-op will be like a direct democracy where all the workers get equal say in things like pay, benefits, or policies of the business. And other times the cooperatives function more of a representative democracy, which is where workers would elect board members or managers who would then vote on the matters of business and are held accountable by the workers that elect them, which is similar to how our democracy is run. Employees in co-ops through voting are also able to advocate for themselves. And this leads to higher median wages and a more compressed wage structure, meaning that the people at the bottom of the company's wage ladder get paid closer to the people at the top. In traditional companies, according to a study done in 2014, the lowest paid workers made an average of 204 times less than the highest paid workers. And in cooperatives, it's only 3 to 9 times higher. So employees in cooperatives are also more likely to have benefits like health insurance, paid time off, and parental leave, and they have more control over their personal schedule. Co-ops also mitigate economic inequality by compressing these wage structures, and they give people more benefits like time off and health insurance, which are things that we all need. So employees having voting rights in their companies also just means that in general, workers are happier in co-ops than they are in a regular business. And according to a collection of studies, it has been shown that workers have more trust in their coworkers. They feel more comfortable sharing their ideas. They're more satisfied with their jobs. They feel that they have a better work-life balance, and they're a lot less likely to quit than when they work for a regular job, or when they work for a worker co-op, sorry, than when they work for a regular job. So these co-ops decrease inequality, they increase benefits, and they're generally just a better place to work where people are happier. I believe that it's possible to fix all of these problems through government regulation as well. But if we value democracy as much as we say that we do, a worker cooperative and democratic workplaces are really the only way to instill that value in our lives every single day. So that is the end of my speech. I do have to run as I am in Portugal and have actually another meeting. But if you would like to ask me any questions, you can feel free to email me. I have a lot of resources on worker co-ops, so hop off. I'm putting my email.
Thank you so much, Paige.
Yes.
Hope your conference goes well. Okay, finally, we have Carolina Parra. Carolina is a junior marketing and global business student at the University of Texas at Dallas and is a proud first-generation Ecuadorian American. She's a believer in the power of community service and outreach and has participated in many leadership organizations over the years, including leading the service section of the Leadership Planning Board of Events for UTD's undergraduate success scholars for 2 years, And she's also engaged in the week-long alternative spring break program, helping restore and preserve Texas Bay Area with the Galveston Bay Foundation. Currently, she has been employed as the marketing eco rep for the UTD's Office of Sustainability for the past year. Please give a warm welcome to Carolina.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Let me share my screen real quick. Alrighty, so today I'm going to be talking about the plight of the US's undocumented individual workforce. I titled it Casi Ahí, which means almost there in Spanish, because although many undocumented families do reach the US, which is already a huge leap on its own, it's also another leap to, according to the US, earn their right to be here, which is very unfair. So it's like almost there, we're almost there, that type of thing. Sorry. So whether you know it or not, the individual undocumented workforce perform in many industries in the US. But despite their great contributions to this country, they're unfortunately among the least protected individuals, legally and socioeconomically. Today, I'm going to be talking about 4 facets of this topic, including the background, pretty much getting a better picture with statistics, exploitation, how these giant companies have been taking advantage of the small people, how DACA and Dreamers are pretty much the undocumented young adults' only chance at a remotely normal work life, and why you should care about it, because everyone, despite where they come from, who they are, what they represent, deserves respect and the opportunity to rise. Then we talk about the background. So according to the Migration Policy Institute, the top 3 countries of place of origin or birth of origin for undocumented individuals is Mexico, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Mexico is the top one with around 5,313,000 undocumented immigrants, which is around little less than half of the total undocumented immigrants population in the US, followed by El Salvador with 741,000 and Guatemala with 724,000. It's a point to note that adding these up together, they take up more than half of the undocumented immigrants in the United States. They come from Central America. So for the educational attainment of these adults, pretty much the level of education they achieved either in their home country or in the US, around 24% of them have achieved a high school diploma or equivalent. Around 18% have gotten a bachelor's, graduate, or professional degree, and around 16% have achieved a middle school amount of education. As for the concentration of undocumented immigrants in the US, they're very spread out, as you can see in this graph here. The top 3 cities are the New York area, the Los Angeles area, and the Houston area. And although everything is all spread out, you can see that Texas actually has the top number 3 and 4 and 19 cities for undocumented individuals. So it's very concentrated in the Texas area. It's also a point to know that they also make up a quarter of all US immigrants. Number 2, exploitation, how these giant companies have been taking advantage of these small people. We can talk about statistics all we want all day, but you can't really know the scope of the situation until you actually talk to someone in that situation. So someone some undocumented individual was interviewed by The Guardian as they told their story about them trying to make a living out here in the US, but they were like tossed around by different traffickers, being able to work in a field, but for very, very little pay, below minimum wage, because there are no legal support for them. And he even described it as a lot of abuse for little pay, which is very saddening. In the same case with undocumented individuals during COVID that were in meatpacking plants, It's a very sad story that there's this one individual who, her friend, she didn't know that she had passed away due to COVID in the factory until like weeks later, because the company, they didn't care. They just saw it as another liability for them, another number that they don't want to admit that their COVID standards weren't up to standard, as it would be for legal immigrants here. So she even described it as them being modern slaves. Very saddening. Number 3, we're going to talk about DACA and the Dreamers, how often it's the undocumented young adults' only chance at a remotely normal work life. So what is DACA? It is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It was created in June 2012 to provide temporary relief from deportation and work authorization to certain young undocumented immigrants. Those protected, named Dreamers, have used this to earn degrees and a living in peace, but must be renewed bi-yearly. So effectively, this has made the government have the Dreamers' fate in their hands. DACA has been a hotly debated topic between the 2 major political parties, but it shouldn't be. It should just be bipartial. For instance, in 2017, it had winded down and then started up again back in 2020, then struck down again and halted in 2021. But now currently they are allowing current applicants to stay, but no new ones in 2020. It has allowed over 800,000 young people to remain with their families in the only country many of them have ever known, and continue to contribute to their communities in the United States. So big whoop, why should you care? Well, like I said, everyone, no matter where they come from, what they look like, what they think they are, deserves respect and the opportunity to rise. Especially these people, because many might think that, many might think that these people can just go back home. Like they're always saying, oh, just go back home where you came from. But this is their home. This is where they live. They were taken up here at what, 5-7 years old. They grew up here. A lot of the times they only know English. And if they were to be, if their DACA process was to be rejected, or if they were by some chance deported, they would go to a country that they never know about. And it's very saddening. And it could be anyone. It could be your friend. It could be your acquaintance, your roommates. It's very saddening.
Carolina, I just want to give people the option to ask you questions before we have to move on to the next panel. Does anyone have any questions for Carolina?
That's my next one. Yeah.
Awesome.
I have a question. So what can an ally do to aid in the effort to keep DACA open, or to make sure it doesn't get shut down?
Right. So like our previous keynote speaker said, it's a good thing to write a letter to your congressman, your representatives, to make sure that your voice is known, that these people do deserve to be here. They do deserve the chance to rise up and better themselves in the US. And also joining the protests, the more the merrier. So people, the people in power know that there is a voice for these people, and that we will not be silenced. Questions?
Carolina, is this coming into play with any of your advocacy at UTD, or more of a side passion of yours?
I think a sad passion, like the immigrant in me, like I love these immigrant stories of like rising up from like these poor countries in South America or what have you, and making it big in the US, because that's my mom's story, and that's how I have been brought up to believe. And I believe that like a lot of these people, they do deserve that same chance that my mom had. And I did too.